Former Central Bank Governor of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, is planning to approach the court for the variation of the 300 million naira bill granted him by a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory. The plan followed the inability of the immediate past Apex Bank boss to perfect his bail condition. Emefiele had on November 17th pleaded not guilty upon his arraignment on a 5-count charge in which he is accused of conferring corrupt advantage. On November 22nd, Justice Hamza Muazu gave a ruling in which he granted bail to Emefiele at 300 million naira with 2 sureties in like sum. But it was learnt that he was still being held in Kuje Correctional Facility in Abuja owing to his inability to meet all the contractors attached to the bail. Now, joining me on the news right now to better understand this is Bayo, Sanni, lawyer and managing partner, Bayo, Sanni&Co. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Interesting times, you would say, happening right now in Nigeria. But let's start off with, of course, a straight one. Let's look at a bit of backstory. The fact that a lot has been said, let's look at the trial with a bigger lens, contrary to what, of course, the political witch hunt and claims that many people might have. There are also claims by many Nigerians that the former CBN governor actually, in a way, abused, office while he was there. And for that reason, he should face the full arm of the law. Do you share that opinion too?
You see, we must learn to separate legal issues from political matters. All right? If a person has been accused of committing an offense and the legal process, the legal process of probably making findings as to his guilt has been set in motion, these are matters that have now come within the confines of the courtroom. So let us allow the legal procedure to take its course. You understand? And this should be separated from political discussion or political discourse or on various platforms. Yes, and it's now sub judice. So it depends on a lot of things. Evidence must still be presented before the court, and the court must adjudicate on this matter one way or the other to determine the guilt of it. And then don't let us forget the provision of Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution that presumes a person innocent until he is proven guilty in the court of law. Now, I'm not saying the governor is guilty. I'm not saying the governor is innocent. But that depends on a lot of factors. The prosecutor has to prove his case. Has to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt, and if possible, the governor can still file for a no-case submission upon the closure of the prosecutor's case. And if the court finds out, okay, there is no substance in this application for no-case submission, the governor will be called upon to open his defense. So it's still a long road ahead, and it's a bit premature for us to make comments on that now.
Now, we understand that the Conference of Nigerian Intellectuals in the United States, has alleged that human rights violations in the ongoing trial of the former CBN governor. The group actually described Emefiele's condition or his current situation as illegal and fiendish. Do you agree with this particular, group?
Well, that's the opinion of a human rights, of a pressure group, I'll say. Whether I agree or not depends on these conditions that he has been facing since the inception of his trial. He has been granted bail. He has been arraigned before a competent court of law. He has been granted bail, which is within his constitutional right, anchored on Section 35 of the 1999 Constitution. Okay, now whether the bail conditions are stringent or not. It depends on whether or not he can meet up with these bail conditions. Do you understand? Now, bail is discretionary.
What do you mean by discretionary?
Yes, it's at the discretion of the court.
Okay. All
right? Although bail is a constitutional right of every citizen, which is anchored on Section 35 of the 1999 Constitution. However, whether or not an accused person will be granted bail is at the discretion of the court. When you file your application, the court must consider this application, and the court must exercise its discretion in granting this application judicially and judiciously. So bail is discretionary. At the same time, it should not be too stringent. Perhaps that is what that group is looking at, and why that group came up with that opinion that his constitutional right is being violated. But like I said, these are matters before the court, and I would not like to preempt the court on what the decisions will be.
Okay, let's talk about the bail conditions right now. It was given a sum of about 300 million. That's a naira, asides that, other conditions too, are involved. I just want to ask, some have said that that amount, to a very large extent, seems very bogus, right? What's your take on it, and the fact that, we understand that he is also trying to meet up with these very stiff conditions?
Well, that's the bail sum, all right? And there's a misconception we have in the society about bail sum when you hear this figure that, he has been granted bail and so amount of money and so. That's not to say that it's going to come up with that figure and it's going to pay that figure to the court. That's the bail bond. Okay, that's the amount the surety stands to forfeit in case it jumps bail. All right. No, so nobody's asking them to come forward with that figure, before it can be released on bail. And there are other conditions. The bail sum is not the only condition. There are other conditions. One, submission of his international passport, that it must remain within the jurisdiction, within Abuja jurisdiction, and several other conditions. So if we say that these conditions are stringent, that is for the court. That is for him to decide whether he can meet up with these conditions. And there's also an opportunity for him to vary these conditions, which, of course, he is now taking steps towards doing that now, to vary these conditions if they are too stringent. And if the court does not vary the conditions, the appellate court can vary the conditions. Because we must understand the jurisprudential rationale behind bail. It's not to punish the accused person. Bail is a temporary release of the accused person pending trial, or even pending appeal. Even after judgment, it can still be granted bail. So we should look at it from that angle, that, okay, this is not an attempt to punish him, because, as a matter of fact, under Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution, he's still presumed innocent of all these charges until proven guilty. So if he cannot meet up with these conditions, if he considers these conditions stringent, he can approach the court like he's doing now, for the conditions to be varied.
Now, from a legal standpoint,
yes,
what is it looking like for Emefiele? We know that there's speculation of a plea bargain, maybe agreement, or arrangement to be entered by the former CBN governor. I just want to know your own opinion as regards what the future, speculatively, holds for the former CBN governor from a legal standpoint, from everything that has panned out so far.
Two things will likely happen from this trial. Either he's convicted or he's set free. So, but I don't want to preempt the decision of the court on that. These are still future issues, and like I said earlier, it's a bit premature to make comments on what will eventually happen or the outcome of all these travails. But let us look at what is presently before the court as at this time.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and of course, making sense of all of this particular development concerning Nigeria's former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. Bayo, Sanni, lawyer and managing partner, Bayo, Sanni&Co. Once again, thank you.
You're welcome.